Firstly, I apologize if this is weird or confusing. I'm getting most of my information about this piecemeal and from third parties, and I'm not exactly thinking straight either. I didn't sleep at all last night either. I've known Dave since high school, and we've been part of the same friend group for about a decade now. I started dating my girlfriend about 2 years ago, and she became friends with Dave and our other friends at around the same time. She and Dave got along well, and I never had any concerns about that. The two of them even hung out together by themselves in the past. Not often, but at least a couple of times. I'm not entirely sure how it went down, but it was described to me this way. Dave asked me and my girlfriend if we wanted to see a movie on Saturday with our friends as well. I was busy, so my girlfriend decided to go without me, which I was fine with. When she arrived, she found out it was only her and Dave at the Hangout. I don't know if it just happened to work out that way or if Dave planned it that way, but he did know I wasn't coming. Before the movie was going to start, they went to a place to eat. During that time, they started discussing my girlfriend and my relationship. Somehow, this turned into Dave apparently telling her that he was in love with her. My girlfriend was surprised by this, obviously, and said she was flattered, but she was in a relationship with me. Dave said that was okay and that he needed to get it off his chest, since he had been apparently holding it in for ages. Dave suggested that my girlfriend and he should go back to his place and discuss things. My girlfriend apologized and said she couldn't do that. Dave then kissed her, but she refused and left. This is where things get confusing. Instead of coming home and telling me about it, my girlfriend decided to go to her best friend, Sarah's place to talk to her about it instead of me. Dave was the one who called me and told me what happened. Obviously, I was pretty freaking pissed at him, and it's safe to say he's no longer my friend. Fricker even tried to say sorry about it, which just pissed me off more. I then called my girlfriend, who initially tried to pretend nothing was wrong. When I asked how the hangout had been, she said something along the lines of, "Oh, me, Sarah, and Dave had a good time." Except that I knew that Sarah didn't go. When I told her that Dave contacted me, she broke down and told me what happened. A couple of problems. Dave claims that he kissed her, but my girlfriend said that didn't happen. Also, my girlfriend claims that she felt like she'd led Dave on a little bit. I'm not proud to admit that I said some pretty choice things to my girlfriend after that. The fact that I had to hear about it from Dave instead of her, and that she went to her best friend instead of me to talk about it, really bothered me. And I let my stress get the best of me. I told her she should have come home or texted me about it right away, and I asked her if she'd been planning on hiding it from me if Dave hadn't told me. I then hung up on her. She didn't come home last night, so I assume she stayed at Sarah's place. I know it really wasn't her fault what happened, and I regret what I said. I'm sorry that this is so long, but honestly, writing this is helping me stay calm. This morning, I texted my girlfriend an apology that was basically what I said. A few hours later, Sarah called me and told me that my girlfriend was really shaken by what Dave told her, and that she wants to take a break from our relationship because of it while she figures things out, and that she'd going to stay with Sarah for a few weeks. I said it was fine and that she can call me or come home anytime she wants, but Sarah said it'll be a while until I hear from my girlfriend. I'm taking the day off work since I'm in no state to be around other people right now. This whole thing has come like a freaking bolt of lightning to the face. Yesterday I had a girlfriend and a friend group and I was pretty happy. Now, I kinda don't have either anymore. Did I react badly here? And tell me, does the whole taking a break thing make sense? Should I go to Sarah's place and try to talk to my girlfriend, or should I give her space? I feel like talking about it would be best, but Sarah made it pretty clear that my girlfriend doesn't want to talk to me right now. But I'm also confused about why she didn't and still doesn't want to talk to me about it. TDLR thing. Our former mutual friend told my girlfriend he loves her. I didn't handle it well. And now she wants to take a break from our relationship while she processes. Edit. I called Sarah and asked her if it was okay to speak to her instead of my girlfriend about the situation. Sarah said it was okay, so we talked for a little while about it. I'm going to write this down to help me get my thoughts in order. Sarah seemed very interested in what Dave had told me and somewhat sympathetic to me, though she was mostly worried about her best friend, understandably. Apparently, my girlfriend is still asleep since last night, but Sarah told me not to worry about her health, which is a little bit of a relief. Sarah said that my girlfriend is open about Dave trying to kiss her now, and that her saying they didn't kiss was a spur-of-the-moment panic thing, and that she, Sarah, called her an idiot for doing that. I don't know if that part is true, or if Sarah just said that to make me feel better. She also said that neither of them expected me to know about it from Dave, which, honestly, I fully believe. Sarah said that the kiss and him asking her to come back to his place didn't happen right after each other. Apparently, he kissed her in the coffee shop and she turned him down right away. But then they spent some time talking about when and how he started having feelings for her. I don't know how long. After that, they both decided not to see the movie together because of what happened. And that's when Dave asked her to come back to his place. But she declined. I had assumed that they'd kissed and that my girlfriend then basically left ASAP, but Sarah seemed to think that they parted on polite terms. I asked if my girlfriend had gotten my apology, and Sarah said that my girlfriend mentioned it to her, so she must have read it. I didn't press any further about it, though. I asked if Dave had been in contact with either of them. Sarah said that Dave hadn't been in contact with either of them. I guess she would say that either way, though. I asked if my girlfriend was staying with Sarah because of what I said to her. A couple of replies here made me worried about this. Sarah seemed surprised by me asking that and said my girlfriend just needed some space to process and not to feel bad about it because she'd known her longer than the two of us had been dating. It didn't really make me feel not bad about it, though. Some people here suggested that my girlfriend might have gone to Sarah at first instead of me because of that, so it makes sense, I guess. But I don't know if she just said that to make me feel better. I don't know how much I trust Sarah. I like her, and I'd call her a friend, but I know I'd trust her more to look out for her best friend first, obviously. I won't call her a liar, but I do think she'd try to cast her best friend in the best possible light, even unintentionally. But it still makes me feel a little better to know more information. Also, thanks to everyone who replied, nicely or less nicely. Having outside viewpoints is helping me deal with this situation a lot. So thank you, even if it's just a distraction or an excuse to order my thoughts. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Nail on head. That's what I think. Her going straight to her girlfriend's place is totally understandable. She was freaked out and needed somewhere safe to decompress and to process what the hell had just happened before she came home to you with it. It's exactly what I'd do in that situation. Think about it. This was your best friend, not some stranger in a bar who pushed his luck. Imagine how horrible she must have felt, knowing this was your friend and that she was about to throw a bomb into the middle of it. Unfortunately, you grabbed the wrong end of every stick here. You took her hedging for dishonesty, and now you've got some serious groveling to do. Comment 2. All of you screwed up here. Your friend is a jackass for confessing to her and trying to make a move. You did right here, unfriending him, your girlfriend by just lying about the situation. You, by trying to solve it by calling her instead of calming down a bit and speaking to her in person. Also, you saying mean stuff, but you already know. Taking a break is not the way. Either way, dump her or try to set up a meetup with her when you calm down and just talk to without accusing or anything. Now, a lot has happened since my last post, and I've been trying to piece everything together. It's been a rough few days, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around it all. After my last update, I spent the day trying to distract myself. I couldn't stop thinking about my girlfriend and Dave and how everything seemed to have changed overnight. I remembered how Dave had been there for me when my dog passed away, and how we'd spent countless nights playing video games and just hanging out. It felt like a betrayal on a level I couldn't comprehend. The next day, I got a text from my girlfriend. She said she needed to talk and asked if we could meet at the park where we had our first date. My heart was racing as I drove over there, not sure what to expect. When I saw her sitting on the bench, looking upset, I knew this wasn't going to be easy. She started by apologizing for not telling me about Dave's confession right away. She explained that she was confused and scared about what it meant for our relationship. She admitted that she had enjoyed the attention from Dave, which made her feel guilty. She said she never meant to hurt me and that she didn't reciprocate Dave's feelings. I listened, feeling a mix of anger and sadness. I thought about the times I'd seen them laughing together and how I'd never suspected a thing. It was hard to accept that she had kept this from me, even if it was just for a short time. We talked for hours, going over everything that had happened. She told me that after Dave kissed her, she felt like she had to get away from him. She didn't want to lead him on, but she also didn't want to hurt his feelings. It was a mess, and she was torn about what to do. I asked her about the break she wanted to take. She said she needed time to think about what she really wanted and whether our relationship was what she needed right now. It felt like a punch to the gut. I had thought we were solid, but now everything was up in the air. The next day, I ran into one of our mutual friends, Mike, at the grocery store. He asked how I was doing, and I could tell he knew something was up. I ended up spilling everything to him, and he was shocked. He told me that he had noticed Dave acting differently around my girlfriend, but hadn't thought much of it at the time. Mike also mentioned that Dave had been talking about moving to a new city for a job opportunity before all of this happened. I hadn't known about that, and it made me wonder if Dave's confession was his way of trying to start something before he left. I felt betrayed all over again. Dave had been planning to leave, and yet he'd still confessed his feelings to my girlfriend, knowing it could ruin our friendship and my relationship. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything in my head, trying to figure out where things went wrong. I thought about the good times with my girlfriend, how we'd met at a mutual friend's party and hit it off right away. We'd been through a lot together, and I couldn't believe it might be over. The following day, Sarah called me. She said my girlfriend was still staying with her and that she was really struggling with everything. Sarah also mentioned that Dave had reached out to her, apologizing for causing so much trouble. He said he was leaving town and didn't want to leave things like this. I didn't know what to feel. Part of me was relieved that Dave would be out of the picture, but another part of me was sad about losing a friend, even after what he'd done. As for my girlfriend, Sarah said she was still unsure about us. She needed more time, and I had to respect that. It was hard, though. I missed her, and I hated not knowing where we stood. Husband confessed to affair with my close friend and planned to leave me, but I convinced him to stay and work on us. He cut off contact with her, but I just found out he never moved out of the apartment he leased. My 42-year-old husband and I have been together for just over 20 years and have small children, all under the age of 10. Just over 3 months ago, my husband confessed to having an affair with a close friend of his. It was someone he has known for many, many years, about the same length of time that he has known me. The affair lasted almost 2 years, but I imagine that perhaps there was emotional cheating going on beforehand, for goodness knows how long. His plan initially was to leave our marriage. After confessing the details of the affair to me, he also shared everything with his parents, close friends, even his colleagues at work. He had made plans to leave, going as far as signing a lease for a place, furnishing it, and paying up front a year's worth of rent, money he was able to have access to by remortgaging our home. He was fully set on starting a new life. I urged him to stay and give our marriage a chance to be saved. I felt we owed our relationship of over 2 decades that chance. It took a lot of work convincing him, but he ended up deciding to stay. And in the end, it was his decision to stay. And since making this decision, he has said over and over that he is exactly where he wants to be with his family. Since making the decision to stay, he has cut off contact with his affair partner, AP, and he has been no contact since. This was about 12 weeks ago. There are a few red flags in that he hasn't deleted her number. Neither has he stopped following her on various social media platforms. But most importantly, the communication with her has ended completely. The reason why I know this for sure is because of the radical honesty he demonstrates in marriage counseling. He talks openly and candidly about her in our sessions, to the point where I find it triggering. But I understand that open communication is going to be essential when it comes to rebuilding our marriage. I have to emphasize again that although he needed to be convinced to stay, I can see he is committed to rebuilding our marriage. He wants it as much as I do. Something that he has brought up earlier on in our counseling sessions and brought up again very recently is his desire to have a friendship with his AP. He says because they were friends prior to cheating, he would like for them to still have a friendship. I have said I'm not comfortable with that. I said it the first time he made that suggestion, and he brought it up again just a few days ago. I am worried about how this might impact our marriage if he is permanently cut off from her, and I am unsure of what to do. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I sincerely doubt he ever stopped talking to his affair partner. He just got better at hiding it, or you are so deep in denial that you refuse to see it. The affair likely never stopped, and it feels like his radical honesty during therapy is just a way to brag about the affair and humiliate you further. Get some self-respect and leave. Asking him to work on your failed marriage was a mistake. Comment 2. If you don't mind me asking, why did you waste so much energy begging him to stay with you, family or not? None of this sounds good. You've cajoled him into staying, and he's still talking about the woman he was doing behind your back. This isn't going to end well for anyone. Just let him go and move on. Now for the update. Hey everyone. Thanks for all the comments and advice on my last post. It's been a rough few months, and I've got quite the update for you all. So, it's been 3 months since my husband confessed to his affair and decided to stay in our marriage. We've been working hard in counseling, and I thought we were making progress. But, as you know, he's been pushing to maintain a friendship with his affair partner, AP, which has been a huge point of contention. Well, things took a turn when I found out that he never actually moved out of the apartment he leased. He kept it as a work studio, but I had my suspicions. I decided to drop by unannounced one day, and guess what? I found him there with his AP. They weren't doing anything at the moment, but it was clear from the atmosphere that I'd walked in on something. I confronted him right there, and he tried to explain that they were just meeting as friends. But I wasn't born yesterday. The trust I thought we were rebuilding shattered in an instant. I left the apartment feeling like a fool for believing we could work things out. After that, things at home were tense. We had another explosive session in counseling where he admitted that he was struggling to let go of his AP. He said he felt torn between his life with me and the kids and the connection he had with her. It was a gut punch to hear, but at least it was out in the open. Despite the betrayal, I still loved him, and I couldn't just turn that off. We had a long, emotional talk where he promised that he would end things for good with his AP. He said he realized that he was risking losing his family for a fantasy. He even went as far as showing me the message he sent to her, ending their relationship. But here's the twist. A few weeks later, I started noticing changes in my husband. He was more attentive, more present with the kids, and he was going out of his way to show me love and affection. It was like the man I married had come back to me. We were finding our rhythm again, and I dared to hope that maybe we could get past this after all. Then, one evening, he sat me down and dropped a bombshell. He had been to the doctor for some routine tests and found out he was seriously ill. It was like the floor dropped out from beneath me. All the anger and hurt from the affair seemed so small in the face of this news. As we navigated this new reality, our relationship took on a new depth. We were united against a common enemy, his illness. The affair and the AP faded into the background as we focused on treatment options and spent as much time together as a family as we could. But life has a cruel sense of humor. Just as we were adjusting to this new normal, I discovered something that knocked the wind out of me. I found messages on his phone that he'd been in contact with his AP again. She knew about his illness, and they were supporting each other through it. I was devastated. Here I was, pouring all my energy into supporting him, and he was still leaning on her. It felt like a betrayal on a whole new level. I confronted him, and we had a raw, emotional argument where everything was laid bare. He told me that facing his mortality made him realize how much he valued her as a friend, and he didn't want to cut her out of his life completely. He said he needed her support to get through this, just like he needed mine. I was torn. On one hand, I wanted to be there for him through his illness, but on the other, I couldn't bear the thought of sharing him with her, even if it was just emotional support. We're still together, and I'm still supporting him through his treatment. But there's a bittersweetness to it all. I love him, and I want to cherish the time we have left, but I can't shake the feeling of betrayal. It's a complicated mess of emotions, and I'm just taking it one day at a time. Boyfriend keeps talking about orange peel theory and sending me TikToks about why it's unhealthy for our relationship. I think he resents being asked to do things for me. We've been together for about a year and a half. I am previously widowed, relevant later. Prior to our relationship, he's never had an adult relationship. So for a while, I was trying to understand that he would make awkward mistakes and we would have to work through them. Lately, he's been bringing up the orange peel theory quite a bit, sending me TikToks about why it's unhealthy and bad for your relationship, and then later mentioning it in conversation again. It's essentially someone asking their partner to peel an orange, and if they peel it for you, they pass. And if they don't, or complain about it, it's a bad sign or whatever. I love this man, but this is starting to hurt my feelings, and the way he so obviously feels attacked is making me feel gross. I don't know why he's so offended. If I'm being honest, this is not a thing that happens for us. I don't test him, and I'm always respectful and considerate to him. I would say I do a lot of things for him, with or without him asking, just because I like making his day better and his life easier. Him staying so heated about this is making me wonder if he feels resentful for being asked to do anything for me. And I have a few past examples that keep popping into my head. I had a pet that my husband had gotten for me die before a big event several months ago. I was devastated, and he offered for us to miss, but I told him it would be good to get my mind off of it for a few hours. We had a bit of a walk to get there, and because I was crying a bit, he asked if he could do anything to make me feel better. I'm a big sap, and it makes me smile, so I asked him if he could romantically ask to hold my hand. He just said, "Can I hold your hand?" And I laughed and said, "More romantic than that." This made him mad, and he roughly grabbed my hand and started walking. I started tearing up, and he told me I was being mean, only apologizing because by the time we got to the venue, I was crying hard despite trying to hold it together. Another time, he had gone to visit his parents and wanted to leave early. My home was closer than his apartment, and I was having a horrible weekend. I was sick and very down. He mentioned he was heavily considering coming to stay with me, and I told him I would appreciate it as I was struggling and missed him. Despite him being very positive about it just before, this flipped some kind of switch in him. And he said, "I'll come, but I'm leaving first thing in the morning, so don't ask me to stay longer." I got hurt by this and told him to not come at all then, as I hadn't even suggested that. And suddenly he's, "Oh no, but I want to be with you. I want to support you, baby. Please let me." And eventually I relented, and he ended up staying into the afternoon. I have several other instances of him suggesting he wants to help or be kind to me, but the second I take him up on it or ask for him to alter it slightly, he's angry. Then he'll tell me that we just need to communicate more while he doesn't listen to me and only wants to do things on his own terms. Which is fine if he would say that, but he always tries to spin it back on me, victimizing him somehow. I'm tired, and the now daily mentions of how annoying and rude this trend is to him is getting hurtful, but I have no idea how to address this with him without it being interpreted as me being mean. What can I say? Edit to say I'm really appreciative of everyone who has taken the time to comment, and I will read all of them. I know this is not a great situation, and I have a lot of conflicting feelings about it. I do sincerely love my boyfriend, and I also acknowledge that it's not healthy for me. I'm not sure that I'm at the point of leaving, I know, although I've started to become disillusioned. I'll be checking out all of the resources suggested to me, and I will see where it goes from there. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Oh, honey, this man has beaten you down so much emotionally that you're scared to express how you feel because you know he'll turn it around and make it your fault. He may not intentionally be doing it, but that doesn't make it okay. It also kind of seems like he wants the credit without having to do the work. Relationships are supposed to help sustain you and nourish you, not hurt and exhaust you. A partner who cares about you is going to want to do all the little things that make your life better. They're going to want to comfort you when you're hurting. They're going to want to hear your concerns and your feelings because they care about you and what you think and want you to be as happy as possible. Comment 2. The thing is, the orange peel theory is how relationships should operate. Maybe not exactly like peeling an orange, but being there for each other. My husband and I do things that are small for each other all the time, and we teach our son to do the same. For example, if I get a fork for dinner, I get him one. We get each other a drink. Tonight, he went out to pick up dinner, and it got dark out, so I went to turn the outside light on for him. Relationships are going to have ups and downs, but building a foundation that shows you care for someone helps you through the harder times. It's not about going out of your way, like he seems to think. It's about including the other person to be your all. Now for the update. Hey everyone, it's been a wild couple of weeks since my last post, and I've got quite the update for you all. I've been reflecting a lot on my relationship, especially after the whole orange peel theory debacle. Things have escalated, and I've had some realizations about my boyfriend's behavior that have been hard to swallow. First off, let me give you a bit of history that I didn't mention before. My late husband was the kind of person who would go out of his way to do little things for me, like leaving notes in my lunch or surprising me with my favorite snacks. So when my boyfriend started acting resentful for doing anything for me, it really threw me off. I guess I've been comparing them subconsciously, and it's been tough. Now, onto the juicy stuff. After my last post, my boyfriend and I had another confrontation. He had promised to help me with some yard work, but when the day came, he was nowhere to be found. I called him, and he said he was busy with a sudden work emergency. I was frustrated, but tried to be understanding. Later that day, I found out through a mutual friend that he wasn't at work at all. He was at a bar watching a game with some buddies. I was floored. When he finally came over, I confronted him about it. He got defensive, saying he deserved some time to relax and that I was being controlling. I reminded him of the time he had promised to come over when I was sick, and how he had changed his tune as soon as I showed any sign of needing him. It was like a switch flipped in him again, and he started apologizing profusely, saying he didn't mean to hurt me. But this time, I didn't back down. I told him that his actions were speaking louder than his words, and that I needed someone who would be there for me, not just when it was convenient for them. He seemed taken aback by my firmness, and for a moment I thought I saw a glimmer of understanding in his eyes. The next day, he tried to make it up to me by doing all the yard work himself. I appreciated the gesture, but I couldn't shake the feeling that it was just a band-aid on a much larger issue. We had a long talk that night, and I laid it all out on the table. I told him about my late husband and how his thoughtfulness had set a standard for me. I explained that I didn't expect him to be my late husband, but I did expect him to be considerate and keep his promises. He listened, really listened, for the first time in a long time. He admitted that he had been taking me for granted and that he was scared of the commitment. He said he'd been using the orange peel theory as a way to deflect from his own insecurities about our relationship. We decided to take a break for a week to think things over. During that time, I did a lot of soul searching. I realized that I had been holding on to this relationship because I was afraid of being alone again. But I also knew that I deserved better than to be with someone who only showed up for me half-heartedly. When we met up again, I was ready for whatever outcome. To my surprise, he came to me with a plan. He had scheduled sessions with a therapist to work on his commitment issues and his communication skills. He also had a list of promises that he was determined to keep, starting with being more present and supportive in our relationship. It's been 2 weeks since that conversation, and I've seen a subtle but significant change in him. He's been more attentive, and he's been keeping his promises. Just yesterday, he surprised me by cooking dinner after I had a long day at work. It wasn't a grand gesture, but it meant the world to me. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.